What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Custom. I'm Carl Fisher, and today we are back on the 1939 Lincoln Zephyr 4-door to 2-door conversion project, except it's a little bit different video this time because we're gonna focus on making the trunk gutter in a different way, meaning we are gonna use a different tool, which we are gonna design in this video. This is the full redesign of our profiling machine, and I've got some great ideas, and I've got some great ideas from you guys. Also, if you stick around, you're gonna get a massive discount on this machine if you wanna jump in on the ground level of launching it. Really excited to show you guys. I've already used it. I'm making this now after I've already made this machine, and yeah. Hopefully you like it as much as I do. Anyway, don't forget to like, click, subscribe, hit notifications, get in on it, make it custom, let's go. Okay, let's get in here. So, this is the old machine. Okay, so let's get you closer so you can see a little better. Yeah, that's the old machine. So, let's check some distances here. So center of our die to the outside point, we have 4 1/8. From the center of the die to the outside point. This is kind of the new design here. It does get a little bit larger. It's not much larger. We've got 16 inches vertically and width-wise. That's strategic so that it fits within shipping guidelines, kind of, just to get the best value out of shipping. It's as big as it can be, kind of. So let's see what our distance is here. We've got 10 1/2. So we went from 4 1/8 to 10 1/2 the depth. I've kicked this upper arm up a bit just to give us a little bit more room. We've got just heaps more room all the way around, kind of everything here. Our dies will be 1 inch above this, so that's like kind of tons of room, I think, really. I suppose we could allow for more room in here, but then it wouldn't allow as much room in here. And the reason why we have this room is so that if we're coming in with something that's like a big unit, you've got a little bit of room underneath. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Something that I've done also is that I want to do some kind of promotion, so to speak. I'm not sure if promotion's the right word, but for everybody that's already bought this machine, our version 1, I want to make this second version like an extra discount for you guys, because I really appreciate the fact that you like jumped on the first one. This one's going to be so much better. It's going to be, you know, twice as good, but it won't be twice the price. You know what I mean? And so I just yeah, I'm going to make sure that this is like as attainable as possible. So anyway, what I was gonna say is that the same fence kit, we designed this fence kit. This is it here broken down into tab and slot pieces, and that's the bar. I've made this machine so that it's got the exact same distance from die so that it will work, and we just get this new bar. So basically, this bar matched up to these holes. Now this machine will still work with your original fence kit from the other machine. So I want to make things like transfer over. One of the big upgrades I'm hoping will be the fact that this machine will be 3/8 plate in the center. We're still going to have 1/4 inch plate on the outsides, but we're gonna have 3/8 plate in the center. Instead of pinching the dies with set screws, we're gonna clamp them with through bolts. That's something that a lot of people mentioned, and something that I've been thinking about for quite a while also, because like immediately the first time they got loose, I was like, oh, well, here's a problem. Like, nobody wants to fight with loose bolts. It's worth it, kind of, because like, for the money, the machine's so cheap and it does, you know, fantastic things with profiles that you struggle through it and it's still kind of worth it because you get the shape in the end. But I don't want people to struggle. I want it to, you know, improve. So we've got 2 3/8 through bolts instead of that. There will be a full inch of clamping surface, 2 bolts, 1x2 clamping surface, top and bottom. I don't think that we're going to have an issue with that. Mainly because the reason why everything got loose was because the sharp screws would dig little holes into the plates. With through bolts, you're just clamping. Nothing's happening. And really, the bottom bolts never got loose. It was always the top ones. And it's just from the sheer shock of being hit with an air hammer. So yeah, we're gonna have an air hammer up top there. It's gonna smash on our arm. The other thing that I think is cool about having the 3/8 thick center plate is now you have a 3/8 tang that we can create other tools to bolt into. Like I think that this, now, we should be able to use like a 3/8 tang on a little machined lower tool holder for a planishing die. Now this machine, you remove that top arm and you put a planishing hammer head in it and you're planishing. That could be cool, right? So basically, I want it to be as versatile as possible. It's already got the air hammer, so you might as well be able to planish with it. You're also going to be able to stretch with it because it's a powerful air hammer, so you could add crown to pieces with it. It's small enough, and with that air hammer being, like if you put an even stronger air hammer in it, like a longer barrel one, it'll have less beats per minute because that weight has farther to travel. And then with less beats per minute, it does work better as a, you know, with shrinking dies. They don't work the greatest with shrinking dies using a percussion like a pneumatic hammer, but it does work. So to have the capability in a small home shop that you could still make a little fender, make a little gas tank, make a little curved patch panel for your car, it may not work as good as like a, you know, $10,000, $20,000 power hammer, but it still works. It does it because that profiling machine did it with our welded dies, right? So anyway, this machine is going to be better in a lot of ways. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go on a time lapse. I've kind of blabbed on enough about it. I'm going to do a few things to finish out our cut files. So you see I started making a mount here. I'm going to make that a separate file for the mount. I'm going to make our new bar a separate file because that you'll only need if you already have this kit. You know, I'm going to break this down into like our 3/8 and our quarter plate because they will be slightly different. And then I'm just going to get cutting. So I want to get this thing in my hands as soon as possible so that we can weld on our mount for the air hammer and make some dies for this and just see how that machine handles being a machine. Okay, here we go. So, I just gotta switch this out. Nice thing about this setup is that it's just got like a little switch directly on the torch here, so you can just shut that off and change the tip out. It doesn't know any different. So what do we got? We need a 65 amp. I'm using the sync cartridges. I find that they are pretty wonderful. Something I didn't realize before was that when you use the cartridges that are individually serviceable, the problem is, here we go, thank goodness. The problem is with those is that, yes, you can just like replace one piece and not the other piece within the nozzle, but they wear together as they burn. So technically you're getting less pierces with that because you're ruining your new consumable because it's not meshing with your old consumable when you're trying to just kind of like piece them together. So these ones, the other beauty about them is that their pierce height is taller, and that's what kills consumables, is being close to your work. And so these cartridges, these sync cartridges, they allow for a higher pierce height, therefore more pierces, and just way better. Also, they count their pierces, so you can just check them and see like how much life is left on them. Also pretty cool. So I'm gonna throw in a new one of these. And we'll just put that back together. Should be good to go. So I can kind of just zero out on here where I think is safe. X marks the spot. And, got to turn that back on. And automatically the plasma cutter knows what I just put on there. That's the sync portion of these consumables, is that I just changed it from a 45 amp to a 65 amp, and I didn't have to touch the plasma cutter. The plasma cutter just knows that it needs to change all its parameters for the tip I just put on it. So we're good to go there. X marks the spot, A is the start, and I'm gonna turn on the fan, and we'll start cutting. All right, we got all the 1/4 inch parts cut, nice and sharp, super smooth. Those look great. We're about to cut the 3/8 thick material. I just kind of wrote the program on that. That did. It was so easy. You just like bring it in. Very simple commands using Sheet Cam to turn your drawings into G code for the CNC to use. And yeah, so now it should be ready to go. I'm gonna hit start on the old controller here. X marks the spot, A for go, and we're gonna do some cutting. All right, check this thing out. She's looking just like it's supposed to. It's all put together. I'm really hopeful that the way the dies work is going to solve our problem by being able to clamp solid with 2 bolts rather than pinch with 3 or 4. I'm hoping that this really solves our issue. The other thing is that this is just one of the cutouts for one of the circles of the 3/8 plate. I made this as like a little 1/2-inch notch to put a 1/2-inch piece of plate in there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do. I'll probably end up making like a pattern out of 1/2-inch plate and cutting just that piece out of like T1 or AR or some kind of hammer resistant hardened material and including that with the kit, because I think that you know, that's gonna be what the air hammer is contacting, right? Then this is just like the same clamp is in the old air hammer. I'm just gonna weld that on and that will be kind of the finished head. The other thing is that because everything is, you know, thickness of plate sized, so this is exactly the same. It doesn't have a lot of clearance, so I've got to shim this a little bit just to give it a little bit more free play to lift up and down. I want this to just like be able to lift up and down quite easily. I did design it though so that there is very minimal room here and it's supported all the way up here, and that is all gonna keep this head super stable and not allow it to move around is my thought. So anyway, that's why that's built that way. I'm just gonna weld this on, and that'll be that. The other thing I'm gonna do is I forgot to cut the arm that goes across here that would utilize our same backstop. Like, yeah, so I'm gonna cut one of these arms so that we've got that adjustable fence to try out as well. And I did cut the dies, obviously, for the Zephyr. I think that they're a little bit loose, so I'll probably have to maybe weld on them and grind on them, and obviously, you know, you've got to do that anyway when making any die. So fine tune these dies a little bit, and then I'm hoping to make the rest of the trunk gutter all the way around. Yeah, here's that first piece that we made. It did work super well. Like, I was very impressed that it worked and didn't warp and all that, and I'm thinking that we can get the same result but better out of that machine and not have to fight our pinching little Allen screws, you know? Also, having said that, anybody that has purchased this kit already, I would like to make an upgrade for this kit, some kind of way that we can like maybe cut off a little bit of it and bolt on a new piece that accepts the same kind of clamping die. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think of maybe if there's a way we can do an easy upgrade for anybody that's already got that profiling machine, in case they don't want to upgrade to the bigger one. But anyway, let's keep going. Here we are. I gotta tell you, I am so happy with the way that this is working out, because now we've got super tight tolerances with these plates. Like these dies, I just shaved off the mill scale basically, and they, oh, that's super hot. I just welded that. Woo! They like kind of slip in super tight and perfect, you know? So these are exactly 3/8 of an inch apart, and this piece, if you take the mill scale off, just slips in really, really nice like that. So we've got top and bottom dies here. These we're gonna try out to try and make that trunk gutter. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I don't know. I'm hoping that, that it works good. We're gonna give it a shot in a moment here. I'm just gonna get an air hammer and some hardware to clamp the air hammer in there. We've got that same, this is obviously off of the other one. I just put the bar in. I didn't have the right size bolts, so I made some, excuse me for that. But there it is, version 2 of the air hammer and this new clamping system. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, it's pretty close. Okay, I'm gonna start working these dies a little bit, and I think I'm gonna end up probably welding a little bit onto this top one and getting it just a little bit tighter, because this one is just about the right shape. And then we'll get these in there and give it a shot. All right, here it is. She's all mounted up. Threw the old air hammer in there. We got the foot pedal on it. This is all working really well. I don't know if I mentioned or not, or you probably saw, I just used cardboard washers in there. I just punched a couple holes in some cardboard, and that was like the perfect amount of clearance to make this just nice and loose, but also super tight. So yeah, this is kind of the moment of truth. We are gonna fire this thing up and see how it is. You know, that other machine would start destroying the dies right away. I mean, I think we know this one's gonna work better than that, but let's just see. So I just tried a piece in here just the other way just to see what it would do. And man, it really does a beautiful bead. Anyway, just playing with these dies now. I'd like to make a little bit more clearance in there, and then we're gonna try the full effect. Try and get the trunk gutter thing happening. This is a piece from the old one. This probably fits in there pretty good, I bet. Look at that. Those are from our other dies. Yeah, they fit good. They fit good. Cool, okay. Stoked with the progress. This is eating itself away right here. That's happening. If that gets to be hardened plate, I think it'll take care of that, so it won't be an issue. But otherwise, this thing is solid as a rock. It is not going anywhere. Those dies are not going anywhere. I'm so stoked with the way it works now. It will not be such a headache. The 3/8 dies are amazing because they spread the load. They give you more area so that you can have more, like, see, the more surface area, the more power the machine needs to have. And this machine had a little bit too much power as the small machine. So that's why I went to the wider die, is now you can have a little bit flatter of a flat spot, which is great because the more load that you're spreading, the less chance that you're going to be stretching it too much, unless you want to, in which case you could grind a die that way. But anyway, I think this totally needed to happen, and that this machine is gonna be so much more capable now. Like even depth-wise, like, you can get a panel that big bead rolled. You know, that's most floor pan patches. That's most things. Like, it could be your bead roller, it could be your profiler, it could be your shrinker, it could be your planisher, right? We're gonna make planishing attachments for it so that our planishing dies work in this thing. Also, I want it to be like this like little mini machine that, like, if you don't got a ton of space and you only got room or budget for one machine, that this would do most things, you know? So I'm hoping that you can get beads out of it, profiles, shrinking dies, and planishing as well, and doming dies, those kind of things. And as creative as you want to be, like, you can do linear stretch by just having a tight spot in two flat dies. Like, that's linear stretch right there. Just grind a little radius on the lower one, have a flat upper, and yeah. So it's going pretty good. The next thing is just gonna be tuning up the bottom of this die to have a little bit more room in it so that we're not stretching it, and we'll get those trunk gutters made. All right, so I want to break this down a little bit for you. This seems like a very complicated piece, I understand, because this is the way I used to think about something like this. I thought it was just kind of too complex for me to make, but it's simple when you break it down. So we've got the L shape. All we're doing is we are stretching along this side to get our shape to go this way. You know, if we wanted it to go the opposite way, we would be shrinking. I've shrunk a whole bunch here to start pulling it up the side here. So that's kind of the first step, is get this two-dimensional path going. And then now that it's got this curve happening, it needs to also curve in. So now all I have to do is stretch this flange to start pushing it over. So it's just like a little bit of patience and just watching, you know, a step at a time. Like, if you shrink a little bit here, how does it fit? You know, and just taking note of each bit of progress that you make with whatever shrink or stretch you do, and you'll just kind of learn how to manipulate an L shape into kind of whatever you need it to be. So once it becomes what we need it to be and it fits in here how we like it, I am going to start tipping it over manually with like maybe the bead roller and start that shape, and then we're gonna finish it in the die. I think that's the easiest way. It's pretty easy to just tip that over a little bit by hand, so that saves a step. And what we learned from the other side is that it probably would benefit from a little bit of stretch in this lip while we're tipping it over and then running it through there. It seems like it's able to make that whole shape with our die without distorting this L shape, because it's a very slow shape. But when we get into this sharper area where there's a lot of shrink, as it's bending over, it needs to stretch itself out a little bit. So what I might do is manually bring it over and then stretch a little bit along that edge before I put it through the profiling machine to get that shape to happen. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working on it. I'm at the stage now where I'm gonna start stretching here. It doesn't mean I can't do any more shrinks here. Like, we'll just kind of dance back and forth until I've got it manipulated to flow this edge. And then I think these upper ones are gonna be relatively simple. We're gonna stick those in there. That's also going to strengthen up our catwalk peak. We can kind of weld that together. And then, yeah, that drip rail is done. And like that will be awesome to have this trunk situation kind of nailed down, and a new machine. So stoked on that. I am gonna still grind those dies a little bit. What I'm gonna do is grind them a little bit rounder and remove a little bit of material so that the metal has a little more room in there so that it's not stretching it as it clamps down on it. And then I think that's the key to making sure that it doesn't screw up the piece that you've fit so patiently, you know? So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Don't be afraid to try this at home, and let's keep going. All right, check it out. We are getting pretty close, actually. Got quite the curve happening there. If you don't know, I've said it before, and you could probably tell, that is a homemade tool. It is so easy. That is a piece of plate and an air hammer. That is all it is. There's nothing hardened about it. You can just make your own linear stretch tool like out of nothing. There's a video about that. Go back, check on the channel, and I'll try and remember to put the link below. But it does a better job than these jaw stretchers because they make these marks, right? And when you're stretching it in there, it's kind of like grabbing only a very small amount and trying to pull that apart. So you have to be so gentle, and you're putting all these marks in it at the same time, and it has a tendency to rip on the marks. And I just don't think there's any reason to use one ever. You know, in this scenario. There's obviously places where I'd still use that, but for doing stuff like this, like, you should have that machine, make your own. It's scrap metal. Anyway, we are getting there. So I think the next thing I'm gonna start doing is tipping this edge over. And like I said, I'm gonna stretch it a little bit just to kind of like relieve the tension, because as you can see, that much stretch has happened. So when I tip this flange that way to make our little hook, it's gonna need the same amount of stretch, right? So we're gonna do that. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to go through the die, and then we're gonna rework the die a little bit. But yeah, we're getting there, piece at a time. See, as I'm stretching this, I'm able to kind of bend it in the machine a little bit, so it's kind of helping me. See how I'm starting to get that to curve over? I'm gonna stay away from this area because this doesn't need stretch to come over. It just needs form, right? It's just this curve that needs the help. Okay, so as you can see, we have some mangled version of a drip rail. So I just kind of like manually tipped over to get it close. And then the idea is that this profile will just smooth everything out really, really nice. And we should have close to what we started with for a piece. Now this particular piece went way further. I kind of took off a way bigger bite on this piece than I did on the last one. So it wraps like the entire corner. Like that's the most complex part. I was gonna kind of split that in half with the pieces that are the above catwalk. But this one, like, here's the difference. Yeah, one piece is the entire thing. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna nail the whole thing, we'll see. But I am pretty much ready to give it a go through there. So I am going to grind the dies a little bit, leave a little bit extra room like we were talking about, and then we're just gonna send it through and see how it works. I think the stretching, I might need to trim a little bit of this off. I think we're just at the limit of how wide this is. It's just about starting to pinch, but it's doing a nice job of this. It's not screwing it up at all. It's smoothing it out really nice. So I'm excited to keep going on this, but I'm gonna have to grind a little bit off. I see. It's also too long the other way. Get out of there. Yeah! Because we stretched this so much, this flange got wider also. So I'm gonna trim that flange a little bit. Oh yeah, look at how wide that is versus that. All right. Right on. We got her done. It might be a little bit out of form, so we might have to give it a bit of a twist. But I mean, I think it looks great, so let's have a look. Yeah, we're killing it. That is looking great. It's twisted a little bit right here. I can see it. Put my gloves back on. I think also, like, we wouldn't have to do so much of that hand hammering had we made another die to two-stage this curl over. The problem is that it needed to do almost like a 180-degree curl. So we had to do something to start that because the hammer is coming down, and for it to do that whole thing evenly, it's quite difficult. So sometimes you have to think in two stages when you're making dies, or you can do as much as you can by hand and then finish it off with the die, which is what we did, and I think that it worked out amazing. Yeah, killer, killer, killer. So a little bit of twisting here and there, but oh yeah, look at that, amazing. Yeah, so these top pieces are gonna be super easy. They're just gonna be like, you know, basically just one stretch along the one edge, and that's it, because this corner pretty much does almost the whole corner. So I've got to make one part of the corner for the other side as well, but all in all, I mean, stoked. So stoked that we could make that complicated curve, like, oh. And the fact that this machine stayed together really well throughout this. No problems with the dies are rock solid, nothing is loose, everything is totally solid. It's a massive, massive upgrade from what the version 1 was. And to be honest, like, I was so excited, and I am still amazed at the capability of version 1, which we have cannibalized for version 2. But version 2 has so much more in it, and with the 3/8 profile dies, I know that we can do so much more die-wise. You can also clamp a bigger air hammer in there if you wanted to, because I think this thing is stout enough, especially if we put a hardened plate here to hammer against, that you know, thumbnail shrinking dies with a larger air hammer and slower BPM, that would work. As well as planishing, like, you've got room to make a gas tank, motorcycle fenders. You could make a motorcycle fender, and then you could just correct the profile by adding profile dies for it in there as well. Like, there are so many, like, things that we can do to make this machine like the garage dream machine, to be able to do kind of all the things. So I'm really excited. I actually started making some dies for it already. I might as well show you guys. Yeah, check this out. We were smashing out some, like, double beads, single beads, all different sizes. I am going to keep, you know, The Zephyr spawned this version 2, and I am gonna continue to make parts for it because I think it is gonna be that inexpensive hammer that people can afford to keep in their garage. But anyway, those are for videos to come. We're back on the Zephyr. Thank you all for being patient and watching. And the last couple videos, I know we were off the Zephyr. I'm thinking about this and trying to get that out. What am I trying to say? I'm gonna wrap the video up here, but for every one of you that stayed and anybody who's interested in that machine, like I said, this is up to date right now. So for me to get into production on that, it's gonna be a few weeks for sure, but I'm gonna put that machine on the website right now at a massive discount as a pre-order. If you guys are excited about that and wanna jump on, come on down. I'm gonna put the builder's kit pre-order, which isn't much of a builder's kit. You gotta weld 2 things. It takes nothing. You don't have to drill or tap anything. It'll all be ready to go with all the hardware, with a foot pedal, with an air hammer, everything you need to get started on it. That link will be in the description. The product will be on the website if you want to jump on the pre-order. That'll help me get going on manufacturing a bunch of them because I think it is going to be just a great tool. Yeah, the die problem solve is so amazing. So thank you for anybody that suggested that also. It's really cool that everybody's trying to help me make these things a little bit better. And yeah, anyway, japhandskustoms.com or Patreon if you want another way to support or a place to get the DXF files for free. Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.